When it comes to manga, it's easy to start feeling overwhelmed by a lot of what's happening in the same panel, especially when it comes to the story that the writer is trying to convey. Of course, it's easier to find a way to tell what is happening in the story with words, compared to adapting your drawings to match what you want to tell. This is largely due to the fact that most manga only release a chapter every week or every month, and this is the easier way to keep readers following the story along with each chapter. Tatsuki Fujimoto, the creator of Chainsaw Man, wrote two one-shots that utilize the show-don't-tell type of storytelling in a way that could be more frequently utilized in several more mainstream shows, and they would certainly only become better thanks to it. I'll try to keep spoilers for both series to a minimum, but I'll still spoil at least the beginning of each one, just to help with the context of what I'm trying to show. Look Back follows the story of the overconfident Fujino and the shut-in Kiyomoto. Fujino was considered by her peers to be a genius when it came to drawing manga. When asked to divide her newspaper panel with a girl named Kiyomoto, Fujino accepted. Upon receiving the newspaper, everyone was surprised by how good Kiyomoto was. This led Fujino to start drawing whenever she could, just so she could become better than Kiyomoto and regain her spot as the best drawer. It's here when we are introduced to the first example of what I wanted to talk about in Look Back. For the following pages, all we see is Fujino sitting at her desk, drawing whenever and wherever she can. We can see the time of day and weather changing, the amount of reference books increasing, and the calendar showing the passage of months. And even when the dialogue is introduced again, it is used to emphasize how this obsession of hers is affecting her relationship with her friends and family. By showing us this series of events through the course of 9 panels instead of telling us with 3 or 4, it gives far more weight to the effort she's giving in order to achieve her goals. The end result may be the same, but the impact it has on the reader is bigger, because we can see what she's going through. After months of hard work, we see Fujino's manga, once again compared to Kiyomoto's, and after noticing the difference in skills between them, even after all the work, Fujino gives up and goes on with her life. During graduation day, Fujino's teacher asks her to deliver Kiyomoto's diploma to her house, and that's how they finally meet. Turns out, Kiyomoto was actually a big fan of hers, and the same person Fujino thought she would never be able to compete with calls her a manga genius. After saying their goodbyes, Fujino does this. I don't think I've ever seen such proficiency when it comes to visual storytelling in a manga. The way we are able to understand every emotion Fujino is feeling without the use of a single word not only proves how much this man understands about human emotions, but how talented he is at putting it into his art. Okay, we've seen how talented Fujimoto is, but surely he can take it to the next level, right? Aside from Look Back, there is one other manga from Tatsuki Fujimoto that I would like to talk about. This one isn't as much about the show-don't-tell type of storytelling, but rather because it's a unique experience that I don't think any other manga managed to capture quite like this. Goodbye Eri tells the story of Yuta, a boy that decided to film the last moments of his mother's life. After her passing, he compiles her life into a movie to screen at his school, with a bit of fantasy into it. Following the backlash from everyone on school, Yuta goes to the hospital to take his own life. And that's where he has his fateful encounter with a girl named Eri. Eri, being the only person to enjoy his movie, requests him to make a new one to prove the critics wrong about his first movie. And so starts the relationship between our two main characters. This is all regarding the story portion of Goodbye Eri. What I want to talk about is not about its story, but about the technique he uses to tell the story. It's no surprise that Tatsuki Fujimoto is a huge fan of movies. In all the works that he writes, he always has some kind of movie references, and I think in here is where he can see his love for the art the most. Every page in this manga is comprised of nothing but rectangle pages, some pages with 4, some with 2, and in very specific moments, one big square showing the bigger moments in the story. That's because this entire manga it's drawn like it's a movie, with each panel representing a different shot or scene in the camera. I mean, it is literally what's happening in the manga. Every drawing is drawn through the lens of Yuta's camera. There are even some bits with observational comedy, which really helps giving life to the characters. They are also really funny. It's also important to note how consistent he is with this idea, because mind you, this isn't by any means a short story. Even though it's a one-shot, it still has almost 200 pages, and being able to keep this type of storytelling through it all really shows something. To put it briefly, this man is a genius. I believe these types of stories are when Fujimoto can really show what he is capable of. His action series are also very good, but for me they don't deliver quite the same impact these two stories do. But we should still appreciate how cool some of these panels look. I mean, just look at that. Regardless, I hope we'll get to see more from him in the future. One thing I should make clear is that I don't think this is objectively the best way to write a story. There are various scenes that can't be made sense unless properly explained through dialogue. However, I do feel that show don't tell is being neglected quite a bit when it comes to manga. It's not something easy to do, but it can benefit a story when done right. It is also a great thing to use when you want to leave your story open to interpretation. My point with this video was simply to share how much I appreciate the work of this man, and if I can convince at least one person to read them, I'd say it's a job well done. I'd also like to mention that Fujimoto also released a 30 pages one-shot called Just Listen to the Song. I don't think it was noteworthy enough to warrant a dedicated section in the video, but since people tend to overlook it, I'll just say it's a decent manga with a good message, so do give it a try. At the end of the day, manga is simply a means of entertainment, so let's just read whatever we want and enjoy ourselves while doing it.